Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist, back again with another logic video. The subject of today's video was based off request, which we received some time ago. To be honest, it might have been a year ago. But we are sorry for taking so long on the subject. It's a Sekiro Parry system. That was what was requested. Now, this is sort of a simplified form of that system. It won't be the entire mechanic. It's more just how to do the timing-based parry, which, as it turns out, is not super difficult. It does require timing. I've gone through the liberty of already programming the enemy with an attack and such. We will be going over the nuts and bolts of what he does to trigger the parry, but that'll be after we've constructed it. So, to start with, and this is the already produced parry, I'm just going to keep it on the side as a little reminder. Also, because I want to reuse the animations. I'm going to make a microchip called Block. I feel like the animations are actually the part of this that's the most complicated. Now first we're going to need a calculator. It's not super required necessarily. It depends on what button you're using for the block. I'm using L2, so I'll need a calculator. And we're going to set greater than 0.01, and this is basically because L2 and R2 have this thing where they have like a maximum power output or whatever, which can be tricky. You know, if you want something fully activated and you're only pressing the button halfway, it can be a bit annoying, and I prefer the buttons to just be, you know, tap it and the thing is active, so that's what we're going with. And we've also got two nodes that we're going to need to hook up and oppose, which, you know, I'm going to look at it real quick just to show you what we're working with here. Suppose I animated previously for this affair. And we're going to want an action recorder. I don't think we're going to add an animation into it just yet, but we're going to connect the power cord to it. Next, we're going to want to copy this node up here and copy it again, which may seem redundant, but I'm sure there is a method to the madness. And we will need a timeline set to play once, power in the timeline, set a switch on it, and I'm sure if you've watched many of our videos, you're familiar with this old method of preventing playback. And we're going to be using R1 as the parry button, which basically means at the moment of impact, if you press R1, it will parry his attack, which would require you to get the timing right in order to do it. And I'm not exactly sure that's how it works in Sekiro, but I watched a video before doing this. It may be a little bit different, but close enough. You could alter it to a sufficient point in order to resemble Sekiro. We're also going to copy the timeline. We're going to call this one Parry Timing, and this one Parry Effect. Now we're going to take a quick look at what's in there. And other than a, switch for preventing playback, there is a zone. This zone is called Parry, as it happens. Set to block, and we're going to make it quite wide. We want to be able to reach the enemy. And while I'm talking about this zone that we just put in here, we're making the window of opportunity quite forgiving. This is a long amount of time to have your parry active, but for the sake of demonstration, you could make it really thin and have the window be much, less forgiving. We're going to go over here to the enemy, and most of this stuff isn't really important. I mean, it is important in terms of you would need it to shut off his attacks and all that, but the main thing we're going to be talking about is during his attack animation, which we will preview right here. There he goes. He'll be bringing down the sword right about there. And this is where we have a tag labeled Parry. And it's positioned, roughly in front of him. And here we have a zone set to detect a tag labeled Parry. So what's going to happen is the output from this tag is going to trigger an animation, which is basically him being repelled by the parry, like his sword is bouncing off of your sword. I'm not a big fan of the animations, but that's because they were, scrapped together for a quick video. I think you could do something much cooler with more effect and feedback for the player, but this will get the point across well enough. Now back to what does this little baby do? And by the way, an easy way to find out what animations do is just click on invisible connectors and then just tap on it and we'll show exactly what it does. And it seems, if I'm not mistaken, let me turn this on real quick, it adds power, which basically means you can't parry unless your block is up. So we'll go ahead and turn on the power to that, meaning that once we have an active block, we'll also have the ability to, utilize the parry timing. And let's get into the reflection. I will be copying these animations just because, pre-made. Like to do that. There's also this action recorder which shuts off your block animation, which is kind of important because otherwise you'll still be blocking during the attack and your animation will look kind of glitchy and weird. So yeah, kind of important that you have that right. And the last little thing we have is this emitter. What does the emitter emit exactly? Just sparks to give the sense of an impact, So, all things considered, that should be the working parry. And let's go ahead. The camera and all this stuff I've already programmed, so, if you want to hear about that, I think we've got other videos on the subject of lock-on cameras. Well, we did parry him successfully. But our spark, where is our spark? It should be... Oh. I forgot to connect this. Detected should go in this node. So sorry. It'll look better now. And there you go. That's a parry system. Now if you want to add the stamina bar and a bunch of other things like what they have in Sekiro, that's maybe a subject for another time. But this is the basics, and with this system, you could pretty much pull off a parry. Logically speaking, maybe we could make it more efficient, but I'd have to think about that, I do like to keep it thermo-effective, and we do have quite a few wires and nodes going on here, which isn't a deal breaker, depending on what kind of game you're making. But, hopefully you found that helpful. Maybe it got a few of the neurons firing, and you'll have, an even better system than I made, which, more power to you. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. If you would like to support us financially, consider clicking the join button to become a member and unlock perks. You can also leave a super thanks in the comments, which we would appreciate, or a one-time donation on Ko-fi, link in the description. That's all for now. Goodbye.